Okay, we are here, Derby Ice, to talk Game of Thrones Episode 4. I'm joined by Marcus Dixon and Amanda Spears, and we're going to start off by talking about Season 6, Episode 4, Daenerys Stormborn, the Blood of Old Valyria, Breaker of Chains, Mother of Dragons, etc., etc., etc. Marcus, what an amazing way for her to end that episode. She's back, baby.
I know. I don't know about you if you watched it live or not, but I watched it like 20 minutes, after it aired on the East Coast. I was a little bit behind everyone else, and I had gone on Facebook, and everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, this episode's amazing! This is great! This is great!" And I was watching it like, it's okay. I mean, it's not the greatest one I've ever seen. And then the final 5 minutes happened. I'm like, oh yeah, that's what everyone's talking about. It was great.
Amanda, your reaction to the big Daenerys move to end the episode?
She knows how to play it. She is a very smart person who doesn't need people to come and save her. She figured this out and she executed it perfectly, and now she's got a bigger group of Dothraki following her, and Emilia Clarke's got her Emmy episode. We'll see. We're only 4 in, but this looks to be it.
Yeah. There's so many different angles we can attack this scene from, and we'll be looking at it from every angle we possibly can be in this recap. But let's start, as you say, Amanda, with the Emmy prospects for Emilia Clarke. Gold Derby. We are the #1 website for following Emmys, tracking Emmy chances. It is impossible to say that Emilia Clarke isn't well and truly in this Best Supporting Actress race now. I would argue the first actor from this show to have a legitimately solid tape and moment to submit to Emmy judges and to be a part of this conversation. Marcus, what are your thoughts on Emilia Clarke's Emmys episode post Book of Strangers?
It's probably the best she's ever been. I mean, as a character, she's so strong in this episode. I mean, like you guys said, she didn't need anyone to save her. She could do that herself, and that was really, really cool. It reminded me of, so many episodes, I think it was season 4, ended with her doing something really cool, and the episode just crescendoing to that moment. This is kind of a callback to that, like when she freed the slaves in season 3 or 4.
3. I think it was season 3, and that was her Emmy submission that year when she got her first ever nomination the year of that scene.
And last year she submitted the Dance of Dragons, right? Which was also really good for her.
Yeah. Didn't win either of those 2 occasions. How does this episode compare to those 2 moments that she submitted in the past, Amanda? The freeing of the slaves and the battle in the pit with the dragons.
Well, I think she's got a...
Sorry, Amanda?
I think we lost her.
We've lost her? Okay, I was going... I don't know if I'm frozen or Amanda's frozen. You were sitting so still there, Marcus. I had no...
The difference with this one was that she had so much dialogue this time. Whereas, Dance of Dragons, she was kind of sitting there. I remember when I rewatched the episode for the Emmy submissions, she just sat in her chair there watching the fight. And then, the dragon came, she got on the dragon. There was hardly any dialogue from Emilia Clarke. This time, I mean, she's speaking English, she's speaking Dothraki. It was a great episode. And her clothes burned off, too.
Yeah.
That probably helps.
Yeah, didn't help Lena Headey last year, the close-off scene. Game of Thrones for her Emmy tape. But yeah, no, for mine, without question, this is the best tape Emilia Clarke has had of the 3 she submitted, or the 2, comparing it to the 2 she submitted in the past. Right. And I would say this is in my mind her best episode on the show since season 1.
Wow. Does it hurt though that she's not really in it till the end? I mean, when Peter Dinklage won twice, he was in the first halves of those episodes, and he had really memorable scenes for Baylor and for Hardhome. But I mean, was she in the beginning? Am I forgetting, or was it just this
She
scene
was
at
in
the
a
end?
little bit. There was a little scene where they'd come to rescue her, and she was with the Dosh Colleen, and then it's like, I have a plan. Don't
Yeah,
betray me.
yeah, like Jorah and Dorio or Dario, whatever his name is, jump out and sort of go, okay, Khaleesi, we're ready to free you. And she's like, well, this isn't going to work. There's like a million like people around here. And then she's like, but I've got a plan. Like,
Mhm.
so then like there we are. So they sort of foreshadow that something's coming. So I think that is good for Amelia that she's got that earlier scene, which isn't like, anything too hectic or crazy or anything, but she sort of lays the groundwork for her big scene that comes later. I think that's good for her.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like if she hadn't been nominated last year, I'd be a bit like, oh yeah, she's good in this, but the fact she got nominated last year means there's a good chance she'll get nominated again this year, not guaranteed at all. And in some ways, like what a standout episode. It's a bit more unpopular vote now, the Emmys. Like I just see this being I think she's a real contender to win the Emmy now, which is interesting because I think
Yeah.
before this episode we would have said it's Lena Headey if anyone from Game of Thrones wins this category.
This category, the drama supporting actress, is probably one of the toughest ones because you have the two Game of Thrones girls going up against Christine Baranski and Margot Martindale for The Good Wife, Joanne Froggatt and Maggie Smith from Downton Abbey. I mean, that's 6 right there, and that's only from 3 shows. So this is going to be cutthroat. Uzo Aduba, last year's
Yeah.
winner. I don't know who's going to win, but
And keep in mind this year what Amelia Clark has going for her. She's got a movie coming out this summer, so she's going to be at top of mind of voters. And remember that has helped others in the past.
yeah.
I think without a little help, and if it was just a strictly episode, I would be a little bit more worried because she submitted something the episode for 3 was very similar to this, where she just kind of pulled her trick and then spoke this made-up language, and that didn't seem to work. But it was against Anna Gunn for the last season of Breaking Bad, so
Oh, yeah.
we don't
She,
know.
that issue is up against one of the most unbeatable tapes that we've seen in that category, as well as the fact that, in my opinion, this is a much better performance from Amelia Clark. I feel like her monologue is a lot longer. I feel like it's less about dragons and visual effects and all that sort of thing, the scene, and a bit more about her. I know there's fire, and I'm sure a lot of visual effects are used in that scene and stuff. But like, it does seem a bit more of an actor performance than maybe that one in season 3. So I really think this is fantastic for her. It's always hard with her performance. I think like it is sort of a bit like it's not a huge performance. She's not like because she's sexiest woman alive this year on Esquire magazine and stuff. She might seem a bit more, to some voters, a bit less of a serious actor, like your Maggie Smith or your even Margot Martindale sort of the sort of actors that are more character actors and things. But she's fantastic. Like I think she's been my favorite actress on this show at least half of the seasons of this show. I think so. I in my opinion, I think she'd be a great winner here, and I think she's now got the stuff to back it up.
Yes.
Dethrone Diane Rigg from last week for you, Matt.
Yeah. She's better than Diana Rigg. So she deserves an Emmy more than Diana Rigg. But yeah, no. So she's fantastic. I think here's a question though: is this too soon? It's episode 4. All we need is Lena Headey in episode 8 or something to have an amazing monologue, and all of a sudden, Amelia Clark's going to be forgotten news.
Well,
we
you
were
don't know
just
what she's got coming.
Yeah, we were just talking beforehand, Amanda, about how, she's up to something. Cersei and Jaime are up to something because they're a little bit boring this season. I mean, I hope they're plotting something for the sake of the show, that there's going to be some storyline that's coming down the pike, because I mean, as of right now, I feel like Cersei is a very neutered character. She's not the same as she was before the Walk of Shame. She used to be my favorite character, and now she's kind of just in the background almost. They're setting something up, though, right?
Yeah, they're definitely setting something up because there's no way that those two characters are just going to let the Tyrell army just sashay around King's Landing.
Yeah.
Regardless of what's going on with the religious group that's taken over. There's just no way. They've got to be up to something because they're just a little too appeasing right now.
Yeah, I agree with that. The Mountain has to be involved in whatever they're planning, correct? I feel like there's been way too much foreshadowing around him and, like, too many lines sort of surrounding him, so it's very... Yeah, sorry, go
Right now, Lena's episode is episode 1. I mean, if she doesn't get anything better, because that was when she found out her daughter was dead and she had the crying scene. But really, I mean, there's been no other moments for her. I'm sure there's something coming up down the pipe.
If she submits that, what a great episode for Emilia Clarke. Like, what a great, no, it's not amazing from Emilia, it's not anything incredible, but she's got a good scene in it. Like, it'll help her out.
Yeah, that will help a sister out. But
if tapes matter.
Yeah.
If tapes matter, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no, so that's very good. I like the Daenerys scene also, how, and you guys have sort of mentioned this, that she saved herself. Like, I don't think it would have been cool if, like, just Jorah and Dorio, like, sort of came in and sort of saved her. That would have been less fun, I think, and a bit, you know, she's one of the strong female leader characters in the show. We don't want two guys to come and save her.
On television, not just on this show, like one of the strongest females on television.
Yes, on television. So I think that would have been a shame, but you never really thought Jorah and Dorio would, like, get it all together. Like, you always thought that was a bit of a, like, fool's errand. Like, there might be a little bit of help somewhere along the way, but you thought it was a somewhat troublesome operation from when it began.
So both of those guys kind of have a crush on her in their own ways. And now that Dario knows that Jorah is sick with the stone disease, is he going to tell Daenerys, be like, hey, you stay away from that guy, he'll get you infected with the stone virus? So he could use that to his advantage to get Daenerys all to himself.
Yeah, stay away from his wrist, Daenerys. It's bad news. Yeah. So, yeah. So, like, from a character perspective, from a story moving forward perspective, like, I'd say it's hard to argue, and you guys feel free to, that Daenerys didn't have the best move in the game this episode in terms of moving her stock forward and moving herself forward, which is sort of good because for the past couple of seasons she really hasn't done much, and not much that she's tried doing has really worked for her too well. It's been a lot of either, if not taking steps back for Daenerys, treading water. What position does this put her in the game now? Amanda?
Oh, she's back. I mean, she's figured it out again, but you can't rule with these kind of tricks. It's not going to always work. Every time there's a problem, she can't just walk through fire to scare people. So she still has to learn to rule, but I think she's better off because she does have people like Tyrion and Varys solidly there to advise her and taking care of the Sons of the Harpy issue, but it's at least kind of re-energized her.
Does she hang out there and try to, bring them onto her side, or does she go immediately back to Meereen? What do you guys think? Is she going to try to, bring these people that were bowing toward her at the end? Is she going to try to make them her new soldiers, or is she just going to be like, bye, guys?
I don't think Daenerys is the type of character that walks away from devoted followers. She needs to be very, she seems to, like, if she was on Twitter, she'd definitely be trying to get as many followers as possible on Twitter. She would not, she'd be a bit of a, like...
Hashtag unburnt.
Yeah. So I feel like she is not going to be able to lead. She's a sucker for people loving her.
Yeah. So maybe she won't go back to Meereen till like the end of the season. Maybe she'll hang out here for a while then. I'm asking because Tyrion seems to have a good thing going over there now, and her coming back would probably not be good for him because he's acting as essentially the king.
Yeah, and I don't think she's going to love this deal that he struck or trying to strike.
Yeah.
he's got something else working. This is just a placeholder to keep some time while he figures out what he's going to do. Because we've seen him manipulate the situation so well that going back to
he's got to do something else. There's got to be a next move for him because Daenerys is not going to love the 7 years of slavery deal.
Sounds like an Oscar winner.
Yeah. 7 years a slave. So I think she's got to because I think, and this is like maybe interesting because Tyrion and Daenerys have not known each other for very long. It's not like, he's like a Jorah who has learnt to know her and knows her MO and stuff, because I can understand where Tyrion's coming from with this deal of sort of going, well, we've got a war, we've got a slaver issue, we can deal with one of them now and then start to deal with the other one. And I don't know if that's necessarily the morally right thing to do, but definitely from someone who's grown up in a Lannister household, to him probably seems like quite a compassionate compromise, someone who's grown up with Cersei and Jaime and Tywin and stuff like that. But I don't know, does he understand how much of an ideologue or how ideologically pure Daenerys is on the slavery issue, and how she's going to maybe be pretty angry if she comes back and he's made these deals on her behalf that seems a bit more to appease slavers more than sort of just be very black and white on the issue. Yeah,
I'm excited to see her return to see what Tyrion has done, and whether she agrees with it or not. But we may have to wait a while for that to happen. Yeah. Sometimes this show just moves so slowly.
It takes people a while to get together, but I still think he's got something up his sleeves as far as him and Varys. It never is what it just seems to be. So they play this like 6 moves ahead of everyone else. Yeah. So I would say let's wait a little bit. And she left, and she had to leave, obviously, to save her life, but
I do
bring him into her confidence.
Regardless of how she reacts, I think Tyrion is doing the best he can with what. Like, I think she'd be a bit like, it'd be unwise of her to just, if she doesn't like what he's doing now, cutting him off from her circle, because I think he is a good asset, and I think so I think that would be her being a bit too right. Maybe the time she sort of banished Jorah was a little bit too hasty of her. Not the best decision. So, I love that the Daenerys scene. That it really, and I'm loving things about this season that are throwbacks to season 1. It seems like they've got a lot of throwbacks to season 1, and I loved her emerging from the fire again, sort of naked, emerging from the fire. Remind me very much of the final scene of season 1, and I'm really loving these little nods they're doing to season 1 this year, whether it's Arya training again how to fight, or it's Daenerys emerging from the flames, or being with Dothrakis again. Like, that's what I'm really getting a kick out of this season, and why I'm probably enjoying this season more than I enjoyed last season. I think there's all these cute little nods.
This is their best season so far, and I thought season 5 was the best, which I know you disagree with me, but I think this is even better than last year. Another nod that they did was they mentioned, her brother that died in that same room, I believe, right, with the gold helmet.
Yeah. So again, another throwback, and that's my favorite Daenerys scene. Was that scene with the golden crown? I think it's a crown, Marcus, not a helmet. So, cool. It's like, the prophecy says you'll have a golden helmet, or whatever. Whoever wears the golden helmets, well. But I think it's really fun. And speaking of throwbacks to season 1, which I actually think was the best season of the show. That is my call, that season 1 is the best Game of Thrones season. We'll need to argue this sometime, Marcus, because you're totally wrong. But was a throwback to a Stark reunion. Jon and Sansa back together.
Was
We never had a scene with them before. They never had a scene in season 1.
They never had
Okay.
a scene in season 1?
No, I was looking at that and I just realized in season 1 they didn't have a scene in those first 2 episodes where the Starks were together.
Was there were they in the same sort of scene? So they didn't talk with each other, but they were sort of in the same.
Yeah, when Sean Bean came, when the king came, then they all kind of curtsied and bowed, but they were never in an actual scene where they were talking.
It's crazy. It's
I'm calling-
I don't know if you guys were Lost fans, but Charles Woodmore and his daughter Penny, his whole purpose on the show was to save Penny, and they never had a scene together. And it's you don't really need that, I guess, for a story to make you emotional. I mean, I was tearing up when these two reunited at the beginning of the episode.
I was right with you.
And just because you know what it means for them, whether we've seen them together or not, it was such a great moment.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I said this in the recap last week, but I was very confident that Jon Snow would have left Castle Black just before Sansa.
And I said they're going to see Sansa.
Yeah, I was wrong. I was wrong.
But let me ask from a dramatic standpoint, I feel like that reunion scene would have been better as the final scene of episode 3 last week. Instead of, the final scene was Jon saying, my watch has ended, I'm hanging up my coat. I think it would have been such a cool scene if, he does that and then the door opens and Sansa comes in and we're all crying. I just think dramatically it would have been better than opening an episode if it had ended the episode.
I kind of like the way it was done, though. He gets there, he's leaving, and then she kind of gives him his groove back, not in that kind of way, but I'm going to fight, and either you're going to help me or you're not going to help me. And then he gets that letter from Ramsay, and all of a sudden he just kind of turns and goes, how many fighting people do you have?
Yeah, look, I think they may not have had a scene in season 1 together. I still felt like it was very much a throwback, seeing two Starks together. They were at Winterfell together in season 1, and I think they're talking about going back to Winterfell. They're gonna take back their old house. So that's sort of do we think this is a good move for Sansa and Jon Snow? Amanda?
I don't know. Oh, sorry.
Or Marcus? No, Marcus, you go.
Because there's like a million White Walkers on the other side of that wall, and to just leave with 2,000 soldiers, leave the wall unprotected, does not seem smart to me.
Okay, I see that. Amanda?
Smart, because at this point, I don't think that Ramsay is going to do anything if those White Walkers come, but I think Jon Snow could unite the North, and what they don't know is the Lord of the Vale is going to help them out, so they're really going to be in a good position, potentially.
Yeah, I think let's get back to Winterfell. I'm a bit over this wall shenanigans, and let's get the Starks back home. Let's get these Boltons out of the way. Marcus?
Amanda had mentioned beforehand about something else that happened at the wall scene at the dinner table.
We got new love interests.
New
love match going on.
Yep, and who is that? Who's that, Amanda? Drop the couple.
Oh, I just forgot his name. Torrent and...
Giant's Bone or whatever, Jane Spain, and
Redbeard.
Tormund and... Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's going to be good. It's going to be so awkward but fun to watch.
Because he was looking at her when she rode in. It was like, oh, yeah.
And then the way he was eating that chicken leg, just staring at her. They're the new Jim and Pam of Game of Thrones.
I love it. We've got also. I love the scene where it was Jon and Sansa, they're just clearly, I don't know how long they were together, like a couple days or something, because it seems like they just told everyone the whole plot of their storylines from Game of Thrones season 1 through 5, and 6 as well. Seems like they just could talk to each other as if they knew what had happened. He's like, oh, can't fight again. She goes, oh, but you're back to life now. Things like whatever. But I really liked that she sort of their conversation also I thought was very fun for a viewer, where she was sort of going, "Oh, it's so horrible. I was so horrible back in season one," and
Hmm.
he was going, "Oh no, I was such a sulk." And it's like, yeah, you've both got a very good read on how the audience perceived your two characters in season one of the show. Like, because Jon Snow was a bit of a sulk and a bit boring, and Sansa was like really annoying and really mean and really like a bit of a douche to like everyone in her family, like Lee and stuff like that. And so like it was sort of fun that they had that acknowledgement that, oh, we wish we could go back and change it, and who knows, maybe Bran will in a couple of episodes. Maybe.
Yeah. And there was another callback there when they mentioned her being raped by Ramsay, and I feel like, the audience really, really reacted strongly to that last season, and they handled it very, very delicately tonight or in the episode last night with the letter. I feel like maybe that was a result of the audience reaction. They wanted to, kind of talk about how serious that is. And it was a great scene. That whole scene with the letter reading, that was just fantastic.
Yeah, and it's nice to see Jon protective, but Sansa sort of, no, 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 I want to see what he said. I want to know that. I want to, like, don't protect me. And probably, like, a bit of a good moment for her and sort of acknowledging him. Look, I've seen bad stuff too. Bad stuff's happened to me too. Like, you can't protect me from the bad stuff, Jon. I need to know stuff like this. Don't not read me the end of that letter. I can read it myself if you can't. So.
Right.
Yeah, and I hope Sophie Turner. We're talking about actors. Sophie Turner was great tonight. Obviously, it wasn't sort of the type of tape that you probably submit for Emmys or whatever. She was fantastic. I hope she has a really good tape coming up.
I thought Kit Harington was great too, with all the emotion of seeing his sister again and reading the letter and getting his groove back. So far, I think this is his best. I mean, the first two episodes, he's laying on a slab, so there's not a lot of competition for episode submissions yet for him. But this was his greatest, I think.
Yeah, and you've talked about Brienne at with Redbeard, their looming romance, but she also really had a nice little fun scene with Davos and Melisandre.
Awkward.
Oh yeah.
It was very awkward.
Sansa must have said, "Don't kill anyone yet," because.
Yeah, that scene was awkward on a whole number of levels. Where Davos is going to Melisandre, sort of going, "So what happened to Shireen down there? What's she up to?" And almost like Melisandre was saved by Brienne, who came in and sort of didn't, I guess, quite hear what they told back. And she goes, "Oh, I know what happened. Stannis died." It was like, well, no, sorry, Brienne, he was asking about Shireen and not Stannis, but do tell, like, and
the whole family died. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and like Brienne's like, I knew what happened. Renly was killed by black magic, and she gave like Melisandre the dirtiest look. And I loved how Davos just went, yeah, it's in the past. Like, he was like, look, this is seasons ago.
Yeah.
Brienne, are you still talking about this? So much has happened. Yeah, so
yeah, he wants to move forward.
Yeah.
So.
Yes.
It must be so fun for the writers to like have characters interact that haven't interacted for 4 or 5 years. Must be just fun in the writers' room. Like, oh, yeah. What's Brienne gonna say to Davos now that they're seeing each other?
Yeah, and the big thing. Sorry, go, Amanda.
I took his head, might be.
Yeah, and like Brienne, and like because for her something that happened in season 2 is the most relevant thing for her in her relationship with Davos. Right. So that's really exciting that when you see these meetings that have been long seasons coming, where are they going to go back to? Like what is the thing that, like there'll be some people where if Arya meets down the line, she's been holding a grudge against that person for a long time, but not had any interaction with them since. So not being able to witness any of their character development or since those moments. So that is really fun. We had a couple of other family reunions. Marcus,
yes, that was the theme.
Season,
I think
this episode.
The sibling reunions was the theme. Besides Jon and Sansa, there was the Tyrells, Marjorie and Loras, and then there was the Greyjoys too.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
My favorite was when was it Yara Greyjoy when she's like, oh, we know that he tore you to pieces. We received a piece of you in a box.
Yeah.
Another callback.
Yeah. No,
well, she's probably not, because she did go and try and rescue him, and he just wanted to sit in his little crate. Like,
yeah. So, yeah, I think good week for the Greyjoys. I think it's good that they're sort of teamed up now, and they're going to try and take the Iron Islands. It doesn't seem like there's going to be a Theon his sister power struggle. So yeah, I think a pretty short scene, but things looking good for them. I reckon. I think
the power struggle will be with the uncle.
Yes, and
but it's
we'll
good
see.
that Theon is helping. Yara.
Yeah, I think as soon as she realized that he wasn't coming to sort of like, take over the place, he was just happy to support her. I think she was like, oh, okay, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the other family reunion was Marjorie and Loras.
Mm.
Amanda, did this scene, did these characters, did these actors impress you in any way this episode?
Marjorie, Natalie Dormer was impressive, because she's still kind of like, we're going to be fine, we're going to hold strong. She knows better. Where her brother has just completely fallen apart.
Mm. Yeah.
She didn't seem She didn't seem very impressed with the High Sparrow's speech about being a cobbler, and he kind of took her to task for going back to her family. But what else would you do? After something like that?
I've always been impressed with Marjorie in the game. I was impressed with her again, her strength. That she is still, after everything, and it's been hard to tell the last couple of episodes because she's just been sort of sitting in a cell, how strong she is. How she, sort of refuses to be broken because she does not believe that will be helpful for her standing in the game. And it's showing a strength that Cersei didn't have.
Right.
Maybe a lack of willingness to compromise. Maybe maybe Cersei thought, well, I'll just, get out of this situation here and figure out what to do next. But yeah, I wonder what's going on, what Marjorie's planning, if anything, at the moment. Amanda, you shook your head at some point while I was talking. What did you have a problem?
Yeah, I agree. I think she knows that her grandmother is so strong, and that there's no way that she's just going to leave her in this cell. I mean, you saw that. We all saw the scene where she's like, oh no, there will be no walk of redemption for Marjorie.
Yeah.
No.
I was going to ask, are we due for another walk of shame with maybe 2 walks of shame?
I don't think there's going to be another walk of shame. I think I think there's going to be a civil war, and Diana Rigg was so good with her, better them than us kind of reaction to it. But now she's at 2 and Jonathan Pryce is at 4, so he's out of guest.
Yeah.
Oh, right. So if he's in one more, he's supporting, basically.
Yeah.
And he'll be in one more now. Like, they didn't wrap up his storyline for the season, and he's still very much in the middle of things, so he's out. Diana Rigg's still in the mix, only 2 episodes under her belt. Natalie Dormer, probably worth mentioning, is on 2 episodes, correct? So there's a slight chance, depending on what part of the series they focus on moving forward and stuff like that she could stay, maybe only 2 more. I'd say unlikely, but we'll see.
I'm hoping she gets out of that jail pretty soon.
I hope so too. But it depends when they want that big sort of Lannister Tyrell sort of moves to happen. Does that happen towards the end of the season? Does that happen now? Are we up to it now? Do we go focus more on the Winterfell sort of stuff for now, or whatever? I don't know.
I'm getting the feeling that the Tyrells and the Lannisters are going to unite against the High Sparrow and his people just for this battle. And then once the High Sparrow is taken out, then they're going to start hating each other again. But I think they're going to unite just for this.
Do you think it will really this game in King's Landing will really be who is prepared to make the move against the other house as soon as the High Sparrow thing's resolved? Like, they need to be thinking two
Right.
moves ahead of, like, we need
Exactly.
to be ready to make that move against the Lannisters or make that move against the Tyrells as soon as that High Sparrow has been killed and the Faith Militant have been taken care of.
Yeah, this is a very temporary peace between these two
Yeah.
houses because
And,
there's just no way this
yeah.
can last.
And I generally think the Tyrells are better game players than the Lannisters, but I think Cersei and Jaime might be more ready than the Tyrells at the moment to make
I
that
think
move.
Cersei has a very self-destructive tendency, so and also they don't really like her in King's Landing, so that might be her downfall in itself.
Mm.
That one guy liked her, but he got his head smashed in by the mountain. The
Yeah.
guy who's like, she kept looking at me. I know that was last week, but that was such a funny moment.
No, for sure. So yeah, I think that's going to be interesting. What happens with the Tyrells and the Lannisters, and yeah, it'll be interesting who makes the move against the other one. But like, it was just you got to feel like Cersei's got something else up her sleeve. Or maybe she's just erratic, but how much she was complaining about the High Sparrow to the council meeting, and how much she was going like, he never has stood for anything. He was he's so awful. We need to unite against him. He's got no understanding of how things work. But she was the one who appointed him. It was her idea for him to be running the show. This was like, so either she's just like, got something else in mind at the moment where she's sort of like going, like, or she's just like, oh well, that didn't work, throwing out that idea, let's now just go against the High Sparrow. So
Yeah, I don't think they're going to spare Lancel. There's no way I know that was one of her selling points to her uncle, but the current Hand of the King. But there's no way Lancel Lannister, the fanatic, is going to walk out of this alive.
yeah,
His days are numbered.
I have a question about like the hierarchy. If Tommen dies, who becomes king after him?
Whoa.
Good question, because all the Baratheons are dead.
I was talking to my brother today about that, and I mean, remember Gendry? We haven't seen him since season 2, but he's like the Baratheon son who was the blacksmith guy.
Yeah.
We haven't seen him in a long time. He's out there somewhere, I imagine.
Yeah, like that is if Tommen died, there is a real like question mark as to who would, and I think there'd be a lot of people just trying to claim it. I think the Tyrells would try claiming it for, like they should claim it for Marjorie, but they'd probably go her
She's
brother.
pregnant. That would be the next thing.
Yeah, Marjorie.
Oh, yes.
You could get Marjorie pregnant, and then like because before, like, you did have Robert Baratheon in season 1, right? That until Joffrey came of age, Ned Stark would look after the realm or something like that. So you could have, if Marjorie was pregnant, which she isn't though at the moment, but like if she was, you could almost have a very long sort of like person, like a caretaker king, looking after things.
Like Jaime.
Maybe a Jaime. Maybe a Cersei, I'm sure, would try to claim it for herself.
Yeah, Cersei would try to claim it, but
it's the Queen Regent or something like that. And Marjorie might try to claim it as the Queen. Like that. I think if Tommen dies, and that's why hopefully Tommen does die.
Yeah,
maybe late. I don't want him to die right now, but I think that would be an interesting thing to see what happened if Tommen died. So hopefully at the end of the season or something. That could be a fun thing if he died at the end of the season over the break, to be speculating what's going to happen in that sort of power.
And that witch in season 5 promised us that all of Cersei's children would die. So
yeah,
we're only 2 so far, but it wouldn't surprise me if they kept him alive another season just to kind of merge things together a little bit more.
Yeah. So. Okay, what about what's going on in Winterfell at the moment with so Ramsay Bolton he has not had his redemption arc yet on the show. He's still a pretty horrible character.
I hope he never has his redemption arc.
No, I don't think he's getting a redemption
arc. What could possibly redeem him at this point?
I have no idea.
I guess
Someone has said that about Theon in season 2 when he hung those 2 innocent kids or burnt those 2 innocent kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Ramsay-
obviously, Ramsay's done stuff a lot worse than what Theon did in season 2. But I'm saying, like, there was a time in season 2 when I think a lot of people would have said, well, Theon can't have a redemption arc.
Right. Ramsay is such a great villain. Every time he kills a baby, or oh, this is gonna sound really bad. Every time he kills a baby or a child, I kind of get happy.
Oh God.
Okay, Marcus, let's explore this. Like, what's...
Because
get Marcus a therapy
I
session
have
for
this
Christmas.
thing about villains. Like, if you watched our Survivor Slugfest we used to do, I always love the villains on the shows. I don't know. I root for them. I want them to succeed. I probably should see a therapist one of these days.
Yeah. I like the villains on Survivor too sometimes, but like they have less of a they kill less babies than villains on Survivor.
He's not just like a villain with like a redeeming quality. He is like he's a full-on sociopath. Like
yes. The eviler, the better.
But you do want good villains, like you want or bad villains, whatever word you want to use. Like I do think that does make the show interesting, and I love these characters having a good foil. So I'm gonna really be enjoying it when Ramsay meets his demise. Like I love the Purple Wedding's one of my favorite episodes of that season because they had such a despicable villain that came unraveled.
Mm-hmm.
I hope they flay him. Is that what
Right.
that is on the banner? The flayed man?
Yeah.
He'll probably get eaten by the dogs or something.
That would be good.
That'd be poetic. But he killed Osha. I think that's how you pronounce her name, Asha, the wildling lady who was trying to kill him, which, give her props for that. But he saw it coming.
Yeah, she did not do a good job. I'm not going to give her props for that because she walked into a situation she was underprepared for.
Yeah, the apple knife was just too far away.
Yeah. She was trying.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she should have. Yeah, anyway. Ramsay, well played with her knowing where she's coming from, having got that information from Theon earlier on. But yeah, so shame she died. She's been a good asset for the Starks. And so we got that. And then we saw the triumphant return this episode of Littlefinger. He's back.
Wasn't that Donald Trump's nickname? Littlefinger?
Oh, God.
So, and me and Amanda were talking last week that we do not feel like last season was a good season for Littlefinger. I think the stuff with the Boltons was didn't quite go the way he would have hoped and things like that. But he's really bounced. He's really on top of the world a bit, Littlefinger, at the moment. He's got a lot of control. Yeah, he's got the big finger, Littlefinger's but upper hand. What Amanda? What do you feel about Littlefinger's return and what he's up to now? He's always got something working.
I think he's kind of worked himself into a corner this time because it's going to be hard for him with the Lords of the Vale. One's already suspicious of him. I don't know his name. When Sansa starts talking, because his story and her story are very different. So he might be living on borrowed time this season.
Yeah, it looks like in the promo for next week's episode, we even see Littlefinger get to Jon Snow or Sansa or something like that. Have I remembered that correctly? Yeah, that is going to be I am very interested in that scene to see how Littlefinger talks his way. If Littlefinger can talk himself into a good position with them, that props to Littlefinger's ability of persuasion.
Are these people using jet planes or teleportation? How did Sansa get up to the wall so fast? How is Littlefinger going to get up there so fast?
Well, it only took Jon Snow like an episode or two to get up there in season 1. So, I mean, Arya just seemed to be wandering around for seasons. But
I love that it took Sansa the same amount of time to get to the wall as it took Jorah to walk over the hilltop to get to the camp of the Dothraki.
Yeah.
I think time is relative. I think maybe we're not watching this as it's happening. We're seeing scenes kind of out of order, maybe.
I feel like also maybe some of the characters in Game of Thrones have ways, and other characters in Game of Thrones using Apple Maps.
That's amazing.
Like I think like
Yes.
some of them are probably Arya and the Hound are on Apple Maps. Littlefinger's going to be on Waze. I think that could be the story. But we've got with Littlefinger. I actually am going to back Littlefinger. I think this is good. He's got the and I think it seems like he's ready to make a move against the Boltons, which I think at least aligns with the interests of Sansa and Jon Snow at the moment. So I think he's going to at least and look, they're going to need all the help they can get to defeat the Boltons. So I'm worried there can't be some sort of deal struck and. You know, yeah, I'm very curious to see what happens. And if Littlefinger helps them take back Winterfell, you can't just punish him straight away, can you? You've got to, there's got to be some sort of, you can't just go, oh, yeah, because Jon Snow's a pretty honourable guy.
Well, if he knows the full story, then he might be less inclined to be honourable. And in that preview, Brienne looks like she's ready to take his head already, so... I still think he's kind of worked his way into a corner this time.
Yeah, I think I really want to see that scene again, the last one between Littlefinger and Sansa, to see exactly what he said to her, what sort of commitments he made to her, because I think he's probably going to claim oh my gosh, this Ramsay Bolton, I had no idea he was this sinister,
What about the little breast milk boy, the little prince guy? What's he gonna do with that falcon? Is he gonna torture that falcon? I don't see this ending well.
I don't think he likes the falcon.
I don't think he's a torturer. I just don't think he knows any better. He doesn't seem to be like a sociopath. He just seems weird.
I get sociopath. I get Dexter vibe from him.
He loves the moon door.
He does.
He's like, should we throw him out the moon door, Uncle Peter?
Yeah, he's a sociopath. He's a little Ramsay, actually.
Yeah, he is
more like a little Joffrey, because he's got some people around him to kind of rein it in a little bit.
Littlefinger is totally controlling him. I love it.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it a lot. I'm glad to see Littlefinger back in the mix. He's great. I think we've touched on all the characters that we had this episode now. That's good. So let's break it down. Best Emmy tape this week has to be Emilia Clarke, right? Yeah. Any question, any debate, guys.
I would say Emilia first place, Kit Harington second place.
Yeah, okay. Let's go second place. Kit Harington second place. I don't know. I feel like Sophie Turner was just as good as Kit Harington in my mind.
Mm-hmm. And I think so far this is the best we've seen of Diana Rigg. Which it's not saying much.
Yeah, she had 3 lines today rather than the 1 line of last week.
The 1 line that's going to win her an Emmy.
The Margot Martindale rule.
Yeah, I made you didn't see our chat last week, Marcus. I claimed that there's a slight chance Diana Rigg could win off her line last week.
It's totally possible.
Thank you.
I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying she was so much better last season than
she was better last season. She was better last season.
I'm hoping that we get a good Diana Rigg episode next week or the week after before she hits 5 episodes and becomes supporting, because she won't get in for supporting.
No, she won't. I'm hoping that the showrunners are smart enough just to put her in 4 and leave it at that, because they have so many great people this season, and Jonathan Pryce unfortunately is too involved in the action to stay at 4. Mm-hmm. Max von Sydow is only at 2, so it's possible with his involvement in the Bran storyline, he might only reach 4. So
that's good. What about Ian McShane? He's coming on the show, isn't he?
Yeah, he's supposed to pop up.
Yeah,
Ian McShane from Deadwood, my favorite actor of all time, and he never won for Deadwood.
I couldn't believe he never won for Deadwood, and he had a knockout episode one year.
I can believe he never won for Deadwood. It was a 3-season show.
Yeah.
It took John Hamm 7 seasons to win for Mad Men. I don't know. I feel like that's been a very tough category. It took a lot. It's taken some actors quite a while. It took Kiefer Sutherland 5 before he won and stuff. So yeah, Kiefer Sutherland may have beaten Ian McShane. No, he didn't. Ian McShane wasn't nominated that year. But anyway, like, so I don't know. I feel like James Gandolfini and James Spader really had that category on lockdown. It was very hard for people to break through.
Mm.
But yeah, if Ian McShane is in it next week, then he's in the guest category.
Well, if he pops up after like episode 5 or 6, then definitely he'll definitely be in.
I'm hoping. Yeah, I'm going to be watching very closely.
Yeah. So that's exciting, and yeah, we'll be on the when we get to episode 6 after next week. It'll be like, well, any actor that joins the show now, or any character that we haven't seen until now, is guaranteed the guest race if they want it.
Right.
So yeah, so I think look, I'm going to say with tapes also Tyrion, Peter Dinklage. He had a long negotiation scene. It was just as good, if not better, than the scene he won for last year. So,
I also think episode 2 was better for him. I just think it was so
with the dragon.
sweet. Yeah, the dragon scene.
That was a better scene. I agree.
I think he's always been very smart because he's always submitted a little differently every year, and that would be very different than anything he submitted because he's just telling this kind of sweet story from his childhood.
Mm-hmm. That was a really good scene. The scenes last night, I kind of felt like they dragged on a little too long, but I know I'm kind of in the minority. Matt, you liked those scenes, right?
I loved it because I loved the strategy, so I love sort of the negotiations and the deals and the politics, and I really like this episode because like I was pretty interested in everything that was going on. I like seeing Tyrion try to broker deals. I like Daenerys, like like that wasn't a political scene as much as, well, it was, but it was a bit more of a like takeover, like a very hostile takeover of the Dothraki area. I loved Littlefinger, seeing him sort of scheming a bit. I loved Sansa and Jon even planning to take back Winterfell, like sort of all these things that were, and even Marjorie sort of telling Loras what he needed to do.
I like Miss Sunday, this episode, asking Tyrion, how many days were you a slave again?
Yeah. enough to know, but not enough to understand.
Yeah.
They were good lines. So
they're getting a good lesson in politics from Tyrion, because they're always like, you're lying and you're making me part of your deceit, and so I think that was I just think I loved it because nearly every scene there was something interesting happening, and there was something that gave me a bit more insight into how characters are moving forward in their game and what their strategy is. So I really, this is my favorite episode of the season. It really hit all the And probably, Hard Home was very good. I was going to say maybe my favorite episode in quite a while, but Hard Home was very good last year.
I think the 3 that ended last year, Hard Home, Dance of Dragons, Mother's Mercy, I don't think they're going to beat that 3 in a row in a very long time.
I was not a big fan of Mother's Mercy.
Oh, I loved it.
I did not. I loved Dance with Dragons. I loved Hard Home. Mother's Mercy I thought was all over the shop.
Didn't it win writing and directing?
Yeah,
it
did.
So you're wrong. You're wrong, and I'm right.
Wrong? Well, yeah, because the Emmys are always right about everything. That's the conclusion. Yeah. No. I think that. Talking about Emmy tapes, what about Daniel Sackheim for directing?
Oh yeah.
Maybe, but I think that episode 2 is a better one as far as that's going to be more remembered.
I think this was better directed. But yeah, I agree. And Jeremy Podeswa, who directed episode 2, got nominated last year for an episode that wasn't good. So I would say this isn't the it probably will be Podeswa and not Sackheim that gets in, but I think it was very well. That final scene was strong direction.
There's always you never know what's going to happen in like 9 or 10, and that's usually one that gets submitted for directing. And knowing what worked last year too seems like a good bet, but this one could definitely be in the mix.
Yeah. Okay. Definitely, Daniel Sackheim also directed the last episode, Oathbreaker. This is definitely should be his submission. They're the 2 episodes he's directed this season. This is his tape. Who Daenerys, did she... So Amelia Clarke had unquestionably the best take this episode. Did Daenerys have unquestionably the best episode? Did she unquestionably make the best move?
I think
Yes.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no debate this week.
Yeah, she was prisoner at the beginning of the episode. She has thousands of people worshipping her, or at least maybe not worshipping, but pledging their loyalty to her at the end of the episode. The same people that had her captured. So I think definitely the best episode for her. Who had the second best? Who is the second best move this week?
Sansa gets Jon Snow back in the game.
Oh, that's true.
Snapped him out of it.
He wasn't even out of it for that long, huh? It was like the last episode's cliffhanger, and then 5 minutes of this episode, or like 2 minutes of this episode, and then he's back in.
Yeah. I agree. I agree with that being the second best move, actually. Because I'm looking at a lot of the other ones, and I think there were some potentially good moves from Littlefinger or Tyrion and things, but you just got to see how they play out. Like, they're not really, like, you're sort of like, okay, this is good. Could be a good deal, could be a bad deal, we'll have to see.
They're setting up for next week, or
yeah.
a couple weeks.
The setting moves up, so we haven't seen them play out yet. We haven't seen the execution. And who was the dumbest player of the Game of Thrones this week? Who had the worst?
Osha?
That's what I was thinking. That's what I was leaning. Osha, she died.
Osha.
It's hard to bet against the person who dies in the Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
That is often the what is it? You win or you die in the Game of Thrones. Like, dying is the losing of the game.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good. I think the question, last week we had some Twitter polls, Amanda, over some of the questions we debated.
Here we go.
Who gave the best performance in Oathbreaker this week in last week's episode? We had 17% say Conleth Hill, who played Varys. We had 35% say Kit Harington, who played Jon Snow, and 48% went with Maisie Williams on Arya.
Oh.
So Arya won the performance poll. And the other poll we had was who made the best move on the Game of Thrones last week. Let me scroll up.
We're even. 1-1.
We had 14% Lady Olenna Snarks at Cersei. So 14% said that.
For her future Emmy-winning episode.
Yep. 31%. You laugh now, Amanda, but it's not out of the realms of possibility that she'll win for that episode.
It would not surprise me.
31% Varys gets the Sons of Harpy intel, and 55% Jon Snow kills traitors.
At least I didn't lose by double digits.
Yeah, well, no, like I did the week before, yes. I think, I do think I was advantaged by Jon Snow being my character in the poll, and the week before you were advantaged by Tyrion and dragons being your, suggestion in the poll, with a very fan favorite responses.
We've cracked Twitter, basically.
We don't really have any big disagreements this week in the discussion. So I think the question I want to end is, and this is a gun to your head, does Amelia Clarke win the Emmy this year? Yes or no, and give me a reason. Amanda.
I'd say probably no. I just think that with Christine Baranski and Uzo Aduba and potentially Maggie Smith coming back, it's just going to be too hard for her to win this year.
Marcus.
I'm saying no because the voters love Margot Martindale, and she's supporting for The Good Wife. So she's going to be my pick.
It's hard not to say no, just because anyone in the, if you said gun to your head, is Margot Martindale going to win the Emmy this year, I'd probably say no, because you're sort of
right.
The odds of picking Amelia Clarke or anyone else, and you go, well, there's probably more of a chance that one of the other 20 people, but you could do that with anyone. I'm going to say yes, I think Game of Thrones
She's winning.
I don't feel confident saying anyone's winning this category at this point. But she's now got a tape. She got nominated last year. It seemed like her stock's on the rise. The Emmys do seem a little bit more based on popular vote now. I don't know until we see something like what. And they won last year Best Drama Series, and sometimes you get a bit of a you pick some more people up the next year in terms of wins and stuff like that. I don't know. I just think. I'm going to just, and it could be me just being caught up in the moment, and if Lena Headey has a knockout performance in 2 weeks, I could very well change that opinion. But I'm going to say at this point, I think Emilia Clarke is positioned to win the Emmy.
Wow.
Yeah.
He's already got 2 Game of Thrones wins.
Yeah. So, yeah, there we go. So I'll put that up in the poll and see what the Gold Derby fans said. And follow Gold Derby at Twitter at Gold Derby on Twitter. Join the forums. Get chatting in the forums. Say whether you think this was a good episode for Emilia Clarke or all the plot details and stuff. I was expecting this to be a bit of a shorter. We're going to go brief today, but there's so much stuff to unpack in this episode. So thanks, Amanda and Marcus, for breaking it down with me. It's a lot of fun.
See you next week.
Bye.